Welcome back, Psychonauts. So today I want to talk to you about what I think are the three most effective meditation induction techniques. Now, you don't really hear this phrase too often, meditation induction technique. So what is that? It's essentially a technique that you can use to enter into a meditative state. And there are a lot of different meditations that are being taught out there, and I think that most of them can be categorized into one of three different techniques that they teach. And honestly, I think that all three of them are just as effective, and sometimes I'll try one, and if I can't go as deep as I want, I'll shift to another technique, and then maybe even the third one. So it is very beneficial to know multiple meditation induction techniques that you can kind of switch through if one is not working properly for you. So what is the technique actually doing, right? Essentially, a meditation induction technique is helping you transition your focus from being external, right? Typically, your focus is on one of your five sensory inputs, or actually all of your five sensory inputs. And essentially, you're going to be blocking out those signals from entering your consciousness and entering your focus. And that is going to allow you to have your focus more inwards and not outwards. And it actually is easier than you may think. You're doing this exact technique right now. Right now, you're focused on the words coming out of my mouth, but you're not focused on the texture of your socks or on the hum of the AC unit in the background. But the AC unit is still making sound waves that's being interpreted by your ears and turned into an electrical signal that's entering your brain. But a part of your brain is ignoring that sensory input because you're focused on the words coming out of my mouth right now. And so that exact method or mechanics right there of blocking out these sensory inputs is what we're going to be focused on with these three different meditation techniques. So let's jump right into it. And the first meditation induction technique is going to be visualization. And this is actually one of the most common meditation techniques that beginner meditators are taught. And there's a lot of guided meditations online that you can find that use these visualization techniques, and they can be very effective. And I have nothing against these visualization techniques. So I'd say that there's really two really common scenarios that people are asked to visualize. One of the most common ones, is that you're sitting upright or you're laying down and you visualize yourself in that position. And then you slowly start seeing a version of you or your astral body slowly lift up out of your body and start rising up until you get to your ceiling, and then you burst through the ceiling and then through the roof of your house, and you're rising up higher and higher, and you can see your house just getting smaller and smaller below you. And then suddenly you can see your entire city, and you keep rising up, and you can see your entire country. You keep rising up, and then you see the world. You can see the entire world, and it starts shrinking smaller and smaller and smaller until you're all alone in the outer space, just floating there alone. And that is a very common technique that people are taught. The Rosicrucian, they're a mystical organization who claim that their mysticism is derived from the ancient mystery schools of Egypt. They teach this technique as their main meditation induction technique, but they take it a step further. After you visualize yourself floating in outer space, you then see a light in the distance, and that light's coming towards you and starts getting larger and larger and larger. And then you can start making out what they call your celestial sanctum. And this can be a church or a mosque or a nature scene or your grandmother's house, whatever you like it to be. And it starts getting larger and larger and larger. And then for me, it's a church that I often visualize when I'm using this meditation technique. And I see this giant church before me beaming with bright light, and I step out onto the first step and I walk up to the doors, just radiating energy and light, and I visualize myself opening up the doors. I can feel the texture of the handles. I open them up and I'm bathed in light, and I start walking through this church, and I can hear my feet echoing, and I run my hands along the wooden benches, and I can hear chimes, and I can smell incense. And with this type of technique, you really want to try to use all five of your senses if you can. So this is one very common technique, it's a visualization technique. Another visualization technique is imagining that you are all alone in a beautiful, peaceful woods, and you're walking through this wooden path on a summer day, and you can feel the sun hitting your face, and you can feel the wind blowing against you, and you can hear the leaves rustling. You can smell the pine in the woods, and you're just walking calmly on this dirt road in this beautiful forest. And again, you want to encompass as many of your senses as you can in these visualizations. So what are these techniques doing? What does that do? Well, what it's doing is controlling your focus, is putting all of your focus into this one scenario. And that's allowing you to subconsciously block out all of these sensory inputs that you are getting from the external world. And this is going to be how you can make this transition from focus externally to focusing internally. And if you can really try to have as many sensory inputs in your mind as you can while you're doing that, that's going to help you tremendously. And while you're doing that, you're probably still going to hear the hum of the AC, and you're going to feel the texture of your pants, but you're not going to be conscious of it. They're still making these electrical signals that are entering your brain, but your brain is ignoring them because you've replaced it with new signals through your visualization techniques. And a lot of people will teach you that this is the meditation, right? That is the meditation, is that you just enter the state. And I kind of disagree with that. I think that it's a good technique to transition from focusing externally to focusing internally, but I see that really as level one. And once you're in that first state, once you've gone to that level, you can go much deeper as well. And I really think that, I see it as several different levels of meditation. And a technique like that, people will tell you that is the entire meditation, but that's really just level one. You can go much, much further. But visualization is a great technique to use if you're just starting off. And sometimes I will use this. I will use that Rosicrucian meditation technique if I'm having trouble kind of entering into that state. So let's go on to the second meditation technique I want to talk about, and that is going to be mantras. So a mantra is essentially a phrase or a sound that you repeat to yourself over and over and over again. There's a lot of classical mantras such as the Om mantra, and essentially, you're just repeating that to yourself either out loud or in your own mind. Om. Om. And there's people who tell you that the specific vibrations that sound makes is going to resonate in your body and kind of help you enter into this meditation technique. I've never really found that to be the case, and there are other Sanskrit mantras like that, and there's actually entire phrases that you can use. I've never really found those to be particularly effective for me, but I can definitely believe that could work. What I often use is just other phrases. Some people will tell you to use a word like peace, 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 or love, or oneness, and you just kind of repeat these words over and over and over again. The ones that I actually find the most helpful is telling myself to relax. And I'll repeat that in my mind. I say it in my mind, not out loud. Relax. And I'll take a deep breath, and then as I exhale, relax. I'll tell myself to relax, and I do find that does help me let go. I kind of focus on my muscles, and it just kind of relaxes all of my muscles. Another one that I'll do is just in, out. In, out. So I'll take a deep breath in, and I'll say in my mind, and then I'll say out as I exhale. And I'll repeat that over and over and over again. And I don't have any visualizations, or I'm not focused on anything except for the phrases in and out. And it's using the same mechanics in your mind as a visualization does, where you're putting all of your focus on something very specific, and that's allowing you to block out all the other sensory inputs that you get. Now, I will say with this technique, it is easier for other thoughts to enter your mind. So once you get to that state where you've blocked out all 5 of your sensory inputs, you're left with the state where it's just experiencing your own mind. And you will have these different thoughts that pop up in your mind and start distracting you. You'll try to repeat this mantra of in, out, and the next thing you know, you're thinking about, your grocery shopping that you need to do, or working on your car or some TV show, something along those lines. And it's very easy to just get distracted, and you just don't even realize it until you're thinking, no, what am I doing? I'm meditating here. And you have to go back to that in and out. And I do think that when I'm doing the visualization techniques, I don't quite get distracted as easily. But the good thing with the mantras like this is that all you need to do is just keep repeating those words. You get distracted, you just say, okay, focus. In, out. And so this mantra technique is one that I use very, very often. A lot of times when I first start meditating, one of the first things I'll do is I'll actually count down from 10 down to 0. So I'll take a deep breath in and then out. 10, 9. And I go from 10 all the way down to 0, and then I'll start just saying in and out. In and out. And I find that this is a technique that I use very often. It's one of my favorite techniques to use. And so give this a try. Try saying relax, or in and out, or whatever you like. And that is a very common meditation induction techniques that a lot of gurus and teachers will teach you. So the third technique is going to be focusing on a body part. This is another common technique that you will see people using, and this is actually my favorite one. This is what I do when I do meditate. And there's a couple different body parts that you can focus on. Some people will tell you to focus on different chakras. They'll tell you put all your energy focusing right here on your forehead, or on your throat, or in your heart. That doesn't really do it for me. Some people will tell you to focus exclusively on your breathing. And I like where they're going with this. The challenge for me with that, though, is that once you start doing that, you realize that your breathing is actually quite an intricate process that uses quite a lot of functions. When you focus on your breathing, you notice that you can notice the texture of the air flowing through your nose and your esophagus and kind of down your throat and into your chest. And you can feel your entire chest and cavity expanding, contracting. And for me, that's too much. That's just too large of an area for me to focus on. And so what I focus on is solely the texture, maybe not texture is not the right word, the sensation of air flowing through my nostrils and then out my nostrils. So I am focusing my breathing, but it's a subgroup of that. It's just right here. And this is where I put all of my focus. And I feel the air flowing through my nostrils and then out the nostrils. Through the nostrils, out the nostrils. And I put all of my focus right here. And again, similar to the mantras, it is easy to get distracted on this. You'll find yourself thinking about TV or something crazy, but you just have to bring yourself back to focusing solely on the texture of your nostrils, of that, not the texture, the sensation of the air flowing in and out. And after I do that for 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, I will literally enter a state of consciousness where I am just as aware and conscious as I am right now, but I am not aware of any sensation externally or any thoughts internally. Zero sensation except for the sensation right here. It's such a small spot that I am focused on, and I'm able to block everything out. And so that's one level of meditation. A deeper level of meditation is once I get to that spot where I am experiencing absolutely nothing but the sensation of air flowing in and out of my nostrils. The hard part then is to block that out. And then I'll enter a state where I'm experiencing absolutely nothing. No sensory inputs externally, no thoughts in my mind, no mantras, and absolutely nothing. And that is typically what my goal is when I meditate. So those are kind of my 3 meditation techniques that I use and that you will see taught most often. And feel free to mix and match those. Maybe start off with the visualization, and that'll get you so far, and then transition into in and out, in and out, and then transition into only focusing on the very tip of your nose and just that sensation of air flowing in and flowing out of your nostrils. And then if you can, this is the hard part, let go of that as well. And then you enter a state where you're experiencing absolutely nothing. And that is a very hard transition, and I can't always make that transition. I do find that if I meditate daily or regularly, if I meditated every single day for a week straight, after about a week, then I could enter that state where I let go of that sensation. If I haven't meditated in a long time, I can really only go so deep. And then the next day, I can go a little bit deeper, and the next day, I can go a little bit deeper. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, help me out, subscribe and like for more videos just like this one. And yeah, good luck with your meditation. Goodbye.